Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla, I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about building your leadership rhythm. We're going to go over daily habits that stick and how to get them to stick. And this is week 3 of our May Consistency Challenge. So just a quick recap of the May Consistency Challenge. It's a challenge we're doing all month. And so far we've had week 1, which was the one thing rule. We talked about choosing one priority task each day. We talked about using the Post-it method, a small square, a sticky note that can only fit so much. Taking from your larger list, looking at what's going to move the needle for you the most this week. If you did that one thing, would it make other things easier? What makes sense to get done with urgency and prioritize over other things? And it helps us cut through the distractions of just checking the to-do list, and it helps us focus on what matters most. For week 2, we talked about small wins daily, 10 minutes of progress every day. How could we make an impact using our 10 minutes every day? And we proved that small, imperfect steps lead to big results over time. If you take 10 minutes to do something just to get started on something, you're going to find more motivation to keep going. And you're going to show yourself that things aren't actually as hard as we think, or they don't take as long as we think. We can make a lot of progress in being consistent for 10 minutes every single day. So this week, we're locking in that rhythm with leadership habits that create flow and stability. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I've called it leader standard work. Today, we're calling it leader habits. I hope that helps kind of make it more approachable to you. When I say standard work, people are like, oh, I don't want everything to be the same. And it's actually not what I'm talking about. When I talk about leader standard work, I'm talking about holding yourself to a specific standard, specific habits that you want to do over time to help you build consistency, which builds trust on your team. So let's talk about that. Why does rhythm matter in leadership? Rhythm means reliability, and it's how your team knows what to expect and how you maintain your focus on what matters for your team and for the business and your patients or whatever your audience is, whoever your audience is. Leadership isn't built in these like big momentous moments, right? We think, oh, we got to do something like big and take massive action. But actually, leadership isn't about the big moments. It's about the small, repeated actions that guide yourself and others and help support others on your team. And habits help you build consistency, which then, like I said, consistency builds trust in yourself and trust from your team. So let's talk about leader habits or your standard work. And what is a habit really? It's an intentional, specific action. You could call it a micro action that helps shape your leadership presence every day. So it's like asking yourself the question, how do I want to show up every day? And if I were to have a successful day or a day where I feel prepared, like I'm in the know, like I'm being proactive, and I feel like I'm ready to tackle whatever, and I'm there for my team, like what would those habits or things be? What would I do to help position myself like that every day? So here's just a couple examples. Number 1, it could be reviewing your calendar first before opening and reading your email. Right? This is more proactive than reactive. Instead of checking that email right away, you know it's going to kind of lead down a rabbit hole. So you're like, okay, let me just get on top of what is the day planned, what's it going to look like, so that I'm aware of how much time I have to be in that email, to respond, to feel the emails, whatever it is. Number 2, second idea might be leading a 5-minute huddle with your team each morning. Think about, what do I need to be prepared to feel like I have information for the day to help support the team? And maybe it's leading or listening, participating in some sort of huddle with your team each morning to set the tone for the day. The third idea is blocking time for focused work or strategic planning, right? If you're thinking about the one thing that we talked about in week one, how are you going to get that done? Schedule time for it on your calendar. I live and die by my calendar. If it's not on there, it's not going to happen, right? So carve out time for yourself. Say, okay, this is my specific portfolio of work I need to do for myself or to help my team. I need to make focused, important time for this work or for this strategic planning. The fourth idea is checking in with a team member each day, right? Who is on your team? Who reports to you? Or who do you work with sort of horizontally or like in a dotted line reporting structure, right? Is there somebody that you work with every day that's like a really important stakeholder to you, somebody who you do want to maintain trust with, somebody that you either support or helps support you? Check in with them. The fifth idea might be reviewing your daily goals before you leave work, right? So thinking about, okay, how do I proactively set myself up successfully for tomorrow? So these intentional micro habits or micro actions help how you show up every day. Do you show up calm, ready, you're listening, or are you frantic all over the place? This makes all of the difference for whether or not the day goes how you want it to go, or how you're able to pivot based on whatever's happening. All right, so now that we know what leader habits are and have some examples, how do we actually choose the right, let's say, 3 habits for you? So the first question you want to ask is, what part of my day feels chaotic or disjointed? Or like I'm just running to catch up and I'm like doggy paddling, right? Like I'm just swimming and I don't feel like I ever get ahead. Like what would that be for you? And then think about what actions would help me feel more grounded, clear, or present with what's going on for myself, my work, and my team's work. You can look at what's already working well for you and build on top of that. And I would keep it small and repeatable. Think habits that are going to anchor you in your day, things that are going to help you like kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, now that I have that information or I've done this habit, I'm good. So let me give you an example. So an example could be knowing how your team is done so far by the time you've started. So this is a cool example. One of the teams that it's not my direct team, but a team that I work with, they look at how many blood draws for patients have been completed by the time we have our manager huddle at 8 o'clock. And since they are consistently measuring that data every day, they know what is a normal amount of draws for that shift and how many are usually pending or have been completed by the time that we huddle. And just having that information can tell you so much without even talking to the team. If you can see that we had an average amount of draws for that morning, and by the time we've huddled, they've cut down on, let's say, 75% of those draws, and maybe you know that's a good indicator that the morning went smoothly. But if we're huddling and only 25% of those draws have been done, that helps prompt you as the leader to go ask more questions like, hey, are we short-staffed? Do we have any barriers this morning that I can help with? Were there any incidents? Do we have equipment down? And start to hear from the team and from other leaders what's going on so that you are informed and can help them be successful for the day, help them meet their goals. So this is a great way for you to think about, okay, what information do I need to have in the morning to feel successful or feel like I have a grip on what's going on? Another example is patient safety events. So I get a report every day in my email inbox summarizing the events from the day before. So my standard work or my habit that I have is when I open my email, instead of going right into whatever messages people sent me, I go to my folder that's called the name of the software that sends these patient safety events out. And I look at the report from the day before and I kind of ground myself in, okay, here are the errors made. They reached the patient and caused harm or no harm. It was a good catch. It kind of allows me to kind of know what is going on with the program and kind of see if there are any patterns and be able to take action if needed. It also helps me feel informed if there was something that maybe was particularly like high risk happening that I could act on it, or if I got a question about it from a senior leader, that I would be aware of it and be informed. So think about what part of my day feels chaotic or disjointed, or if I had more information, I could tackle the day more proactively. Think about a habit that might anchor you. All right, so the fourth thing I want to talk about is how do these habits influence your mindset and your teams? So our personal mindset around being consistent and being organized at work, I feel like it's all stems from this, I don't know, humanistic trait that we have that makes us want to feel like we're in control, right? Like when we don't have control over a situation, it can lead to stress. And so as leaders, as professionals who want to be consistent, who want to be organized, who want to be perceived as an expert in our field, we want to figure out a way to help us be proactive so that we can feel like we are more in control and we're being less reactive. And that's what having standard work or forming these really specific targeted habits help us do. Now, from a team perspective, your team, when they see you practicing these habits, having standard work, being informed, asking the right questions, you're seen as a steady, prepared, and intentional leader. They're like, oh, they get it. And that's a really good place to be, especially when you're trying to build trust with others. And this can be true whether or not you're leading a team, you're a leader of leaders, or you are on a team with other professionals. They're going to see you're on top of it and that you care. And our habits are really the model behavior that we want to have. And when you practice this consistency, your team and other members on the team, they're like, wow, let's do that. They end up mirroring it. They're like, this is our team standard. This is our team culture. So I want you to think about this week. And as you go into this week, how do your habits affect your mindset today? And how do they affect your team today? Because reflecting will help you lock in like what's working, give you insight on what to adjust. And the cool thing about standard work or daily habits is you try them for a while. And if they are helping you be more proactive and feel informed and successful, you keep them. If they are not, you change them. And if you're unable to sustain those habits, it's usually a matter of I need to keep practicing it and showing up for that. And then each week thinking about, okay, so is this something I can't get to because I need to eliminate other things or do it at a different time? Or is it something that I can't get to because I'm putting it off because maybe it's actually not the most important habit to have? So we'll talk about that more. I'm thinking that I'll talk more about that on my Instagram this week, trying to go live a little bit more in stories. So you can follow me on Instagram at Get Organized at Work. That is the podcast Instagram channel. And also inside our Get Organized at Work free podcast community, I have a download to a standard work or habit tracker that you can have for free. And it's in Excel. You can download it, mark down the things you want to track, and then it has boxes for you to track each day. So this is going to help you kind of like build in the standard work. And the cool thing about it being in Excel is you can just copy the tab and make a new sheet every week, or you can just delete things easily. And it's really user-friendly. So in closing, for week 3, as we're going to build these habits, this is where your leadership sticks. This is where picking the most important things and spending 10 minutes being super consistent on things, this is where we build in that everyday rhythm, that cadence. And I want you to know that you're doing amazing. I want you to keep showing up and keep taking small steps because, like I said, leadership is built in the small, consistent things we do every day, rather than the big, momentous, 10x work that we rarely do. You don't have to completely overhaul the way you show up. You don't have to take massive action. You just have to change a little bit here and there and keep it going to build that trust, to be accountable to yourself and to your team. So if you do want or need that extra accountability, I'm showing up inside our Get Organized at Work podcast community, again, where that free tracker is. So if you would like to join us for this challenge, I would love to see you on the inside. The link is in the description or the show notes. And I will see you for our next episode and hopefully inside the community or on Instagram at Get Organized at Work. All right, I will see you later. Good luck with your habits. Talk soon.